Thanks for tuning in. This is the Between Sets podcast, a show that delves into life's diverse motivations, setbacks, and triumphs beyond the gym walls. We explore the driving forces behind our pursuit of fitness, cultivating a supportive community of listeners. I'm your host, Coach John, a personal trainer and manager with over a decade of experience in the industry. In today's episode, we meet Gabby, aka Gabajuice, a cancer survivor turned personal trainer. Her journey from battling ovarian cancer at just 16 years old to advocating for a healthy lifestyle is a testament of strength, perseverance, and the limitless possibilities of the human spirit. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. So I'm here with Gabby. Hi, Gabby.
AKA Gabajuice.
AKA Gabajuice. That's her Instagram handle for those of you who may not know. Has a lot of interesting gems to share based on her journey and her life story. And I'll start with how I know you now. So you're a personal trainer.
Correct.
Yep. How long have you been a trainer for?
Almost a year now.
Almost a year. Okay. Officially a trainer for almost a year. How long have you been training people outside of it being official?
Like on and off. It was never a regular thing. It was just something that people caught me while I was working out. So I could say like, I don't know, training people or just working people out?
Training people. They don't have to have been paying you or anything, just training in general.
More than like 2 years.
2 years.
Let's say that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay. Come back to that part of your journey. Let's talk about like how we even got to that point, right? So take me through like where did you grow up? What was it like for you?
Oh, childhood. Well, I'm born and raised in the Bronx and lived here up until middle school. And then I moved to the Poconos. Studied in high school for a bit. I had to move back to New York due to something I was going through medically. And then moved to Philly for my college life. And now I'm back home.
And now you're back home. Okay. I didn't know people actually lived in the Poconos. I thought that's just where people went to.
Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, shout out to the Poconos.
Shout out to the Poconos. Yeah.
You could like retire there.
Okay. Is that what it's like? Is it just like super slow and not much to do?
It's super relaxing, which was the point. Like my parents wanted to get away from the city and they heard it was super nice. I already had family living there. And when I went to visit family, it was just cool because they had a yard and we'd play soccer and like stuff like that. So growing up, it was just very much suburban, but you had to drive. So you had to. Everything was like 20 miles away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really different than New York.
It's different.
Okay. All right. You said that you had a medical situation. Can you give us a little more detail about what that was, if you're comfortable?
Yeah, I'm just cancer survivor for 11 years now, and I got diagnosed with ovarian cancer at the age of 16.
Oh, wow. And for those who may not know, can you tell us what ovarian cancer is? So
pretty much affected my reproductive system. Yep. It was super rare for me to have that. And it changed my life because mostly I was in high school, right? So all I cared about was me losing my hair. I didn't even think about everything else until like 5 years later. Like, oh, I gotta strengthen my core. Like after the fact.
Right.
But we'll talk about like stuff later. But at that time, I lost everything. My social life, my hair, I had to live in the hospital. It was crazy. And that's why I'm a trainer, because I don't think anyone deserves to live like that.
So how did you even know something was wrong? Like what triggered that there was a problem?
I feel like I just kept getting stomach aches, like abnormal stomach aches. I was in class one time and my stomach was making loud noises, like during a test. And it happened every day. So I was like, this is not normal. I went to the doctor because I started feeling like I got a flu. My stomach was hurting, my head was hurting, everything was hurting. And then he did the physical assessment. He was like, you have a lump on your ovary. Are you pregnant? And I'm like, no, no way. So he's like, you need to get an ultrasound. I'm like, for what? So I was embarrassed to tell my mom, but I was just like, all right, we got to do this. And then that's how they found it. They were like, actually, it's not a baby, it's cancer.
So you went to the doctor originally by yourself, or you went with like a family member or a friend?
It's like a family doctor. So I went by myself, but my mom dropped me off. Like, she was just like, go to the doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you hear this diagnosis, like, where are you in your mind, like thinking what's going through your head?
Oh, like at the moment?
At the moment, yeah.
He's like, you have cancer.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought about. I was like, my hair.
Oh, wow. Not my life.
No,
like
no.
my hair. Okay.
Like I said, I was a teenager. So at the time, like, no one talks about cancer. No one talks about how deeply it could affect your life, and how it's so common, and that you, from 0 to 100, can feel like a sick person. At the time, no one in my family had it either. So for me, it was a foreign thing. I didn't even know about it. So I was just like, I'm not gonna have hair. That's all I knew about it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. On TV, they show people with cancer, they're bald.
Yeah.
But it was deeper than that. It was a time where after my surgery, they had to make an incision, and I couldn't walk for a week. Like, physically couldn't feel my legs.
Oh,
I
wow.
lost sense of my legs and thought I was never gonna walk again. And now when people tell me, you have strong legs, it's a flex to me. It's like, yeah, I worked for that.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. Okay. So
Thanks.
so you get the news, and obviously 16-year-old, I get it, right? First thought is, oh man, my hair, I don't want to lose that. But you said you lost a lot of time in school. Like, how much time did you end up missing?
I mean, a year and a half.
Okay. And you say you were living in the hospital?
Yeah, pretty much.
Was it because you were going there so often, or was it because you were actually staying overnight for extended periods of time?
Both. So, right, the way treatment worked was some days I would have to stay there for a literal shift, literal 8 hours, sleep, go back home, eat, and then go back in the morning. Same thing, do it again. So the rotation was that for a couple of months. And then after you're done with treatment, you're like on a period where if it comes back, you have to do the same thing over again. So after I finished treatment, I finished in May, because I started in January, finished in May. And then in July, I got sick again. So I had to go back.
No.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But thank God, gracias a Dios, I'm
That's
good
right.
now. It was just a scary time. And then after all that happened, I went back to in real life school. But I was in virtual school before it was like a cool thing.
Oh, okay. Were you like the weird kid on the computer screen? Like, how did that work?
I was not a weird kid.
Okay.
I was the cool kid on the computer screen.
That's
That's how
right,
I
you
got
were.
into editing and being the cool kid now.
Ah, okay. Oh, I like that. So it's part of the origin story. I like that.
A little
Okay.
bit.
So you are in and out. How are your support system look like at that point?
I was living like at my grandma's house, and my grandma was taking care of me for the most part, because my parents was still working, still like busy. Everyone's busy here,
Yeah.
and but my parents still like they took turns like coming with me to the hospital.
Okay.
So I always had that their support. But when they would take me back home, I would stay with my grandma, and she would cook for me. Like it was nice. It was nice.
Were you really close with your grandmother?
I still am. Like
Okay.
that's my support system. I'm their support system now. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay. So now you're with grandma, she's cooking, mom and dad are taking shifts sort of and making sure you get to and fro where you have to be. And then you end up back in school. Was it weird for you going back to school, like after not being there for a while?
weird how.
Weird, like, okay, now I'm with my classmates again and I just was gone for a year. Like, did people know why you weren't there? Did people have questions for you? Did they just treat you like nothing ever happened? How was it?
It's kind of funny because um I don't know, like it was different, but it wasn't shocking
Mm,
because Instagram was a thing. So I didn't have one
okay.
during the whole time I was out. Like I pretty much went ghost. And then when I went back on, I posted a picture with my sign cancer free. And then all my classmates started commenting and calling me like, "Hey, congrats. I didn't know what happened." So when I came back, it was pretty much happy. Like everyone was happy to see me. "Oh, you're back." Like, "Okay, cool, good."
Yeah,
It was shocking, but it was kind of like welcoming, if that makes sense.
good.
Hmm.
So once you got back to school, things are pretty normal. Were you concerned that it could happen again? I know you said that, you went for treatment and then it came back. Was
That's
that
a
part of something you were thinking about?
that's a good question. I mean, this is where it gets deep, deep. I think it was scary for me at like the past 10 years because they say within 10 years it could come back.
Uh,
So they kind of put things in your brain like, yeah, you need to eat this, you need to be careful for the next 10 years. It could be, for the next 5 years, you need to keep coming to the same doctor. Um, so it was a lot at the time.
mm.
I didn't think about it then, but I do think about it now that I'm older. Like, wow, that was a lot for someone so young.
So when it comes to understanding that there's a possibility that even though I feel healthy right now, it's possible, given what the doctor said, that there's a 10-year window where it can come back. Like some of the things that you were doing to sort of take your mind off of that fact that it could happen. Like how we're just able to progress in life despite the unknown.
Like that. Like that question. In the beginning, like the way beginning,
Mhm.
I would journal a lot about it. Like I would always write a page on like how I was feeling and what I went through. Literally what I went through
Mhm.
was so much. And throughout the day, I had different people supporting me, so I'd always write their names, like really just remember who was there for me. Um I don't know why, I like to write.
Okay.
So I like to write, I like to read. I didn't really think about it until something else hurt me. If I felt hurt or injured or sick, that's when
Mhm.
it triggered me. Like, oh no, I gotta go to the hospital. Like, it was more like when I was good, I was good. But when I was
Yeah.
bad, it was bad. It was scary too being in that process because you meet a lot of cool people. I met a lot of people my age. I made friends in the hospital
Mhm.
who died
Mhm.
while knowing them. And that's what you don't think about in the moment that anyone could go at any time. Life is so short.
Right.
So like meeting people and then having to see them go and then seeing what the family is going through, that was just a lot for me. I just try to I try to save myself. I was just trying to be as alive as possible. My parents would always say I didn't seem like I was sick because I was always happy. I was just going through it. I was just like, all right, don't treat me like a sick person. I'm still
Right.
Gabby. I'm still
Right.
Gabby. Like, don't treat me any different.
I hear you. I hear you. Did you feel like people were doing that even though you didn't want them to, or did they
Yeah,
respect that?
of course. People who like, found out, who would sympathize like any human would.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Hey, so sorry." Like, and I'm just like, "Don't be sorry. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay." I was just like, "It's gonna be okay."
Was that something that you just believed, or was that something that was told to you? Like, how did you know it was going to be okay?
Ooh, I mean, I kind of knew because I went through the hardest part, which was the surgery, and to me, that's like being put on a deathbed. You don't know if you're gonna come back out. Like they
Right.
just put you to sleep, and you're just like, all right. And if I made it through that, I'm like, I can make it through anything. That's scary. I don't know if you know anyone who's gone through it or if you got through it, but that's why if people are at the hospital, I try to make an effort to visit them.
Right.
It's not fun. But yeah, my
Okay.
parents are also very much believers in God. We were raised Catholic,
Okay.
so prayer was a huge thing for us. Like that was what held it down for everybody's sanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
imagine. Okay. All right. So we are in a space now where you've done the hardest part, and that's you've gone through the surgery. And now, is there treatment that you have to do after that? Was there treatment you need to do before the surgery? What was that process like?
Ooh, these are deep questions, John.
Yeah.
Deep. Okay. Treatment before and after. Um, what do you mean?
So, like, okay, so before you go into surgery, what was there anything that you needed to do? Like, chemo is usually something that the doctors suggest. Was that a route you had to take? Was that before or
Chemotherapy.
after?
That's after. So chemotherapy is actually the cause of hair loss. Well,
Yeah.
specific kind, not all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is that process like for anybody who's never gone through it? Yeah,
You want me to go there?
we're going
Chemotherapy is
there.
the worst type of treatment you could ever have in your life. Actually,
Okay.
no, a blood transfusion is. So
Okay.
when you have surgery, you lose a lot of blood. So that's why they ask people to donate blood. And when I had surgery, I had to get a blood transfusion, like put blood back into me, and that felt terrible. First of
Mm,
all, just imagine them putting a tube through your vein and like you're just feeling thick gulp, like thick slush coming into your body. I was just like, ew, this is weird.
right.
And then the chemo is okay, like it's just long. Like you're in a bed all day connected to an IV and literally soaking up the medicine.
So, how long did the blood transfusion take?
Probably like a day. Every day they would have to do it, I think, for a couple of days, nothing more than a week.
Okay, so no longer
Just
than a week.
just right after the surgery, like maybe like 3 days tops. I don't know.
And each of those
Could be
sessions
wrong.
lasted roughly how long?
Uh, like an hour.
So for an hour, you just have this slushy fluid just running through your arm.
I could be wrong because that was a long time ago, but that's what it felt like. Felt like
Okay.
infinity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for chemo, how long did you have to go through treatment?
So that, like I said, that was a full day of lying down, and actually, they put it in through your chest. So I have a scar on my chest, which a lot of people ask me about. It goes straight to your heart, and they put in literally like a nozzle, like a vacuum cleaner. That's how big that goes in there. Like that's how big the attachment is. And then you sit there, and then when you have to go home, they give you a backpack version of it. So
so you take it with you.
You still have to walk around with it. Yeah.
Oh. And what does it actually feel like? Does it feel like nothing? Does it feel like...
No, you're nauseous. When you're doing chemo, you get nauseous. You don't really want to do too much. So I was stuck playing video games all the time, and I was cool with that. I was a kid, so I was like, all right.
Okay.
I was like,
not the worst
I'll
thing.
play games all day.
Yeah. Okay. And I know it was like an all-day thing, but what was the length of time? Was it like a month? Was it a few months? Was it a couple weeks?
Yeah, so it was like on and off because you can't do it all back to back. You need breaks. You need at least a week break in between. So I think it was every other week for 5 months. And then it was over, and then like I was telling you, other complications happened and I had to go back, and it was just a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of back and forth for the like following 3 years.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So now you know that there's certain treatments of chemo that don't make you lose your hair, but the one that you did one of the side effects for you?
Yeah. I lost all my hair, and when I went back to high school, I had like this little afro because I had curls, so it was kind of cute. It was giving.
Okay.
It was giving, but it wasn't because I didn't know how to style it back in the day. I was just like wake up and go. So I mean, it was cute.
Okay. And how did it feel when you wake up, you realize your hair is gone, like you at mentally at that point? I know that was a fear of yours at one.
The worst was it didn't hit until a month after treatment. So even while doing treatment, I was going about my life like normal. It hit when it was like a month later. They warned me. They're like, it doesn't really start falling off until you've been doing this for a month. And then after a month, I woke up with hair on my pillow and a bald patch on my head, like huge. I was like, so then my brothers and my dad, they all shaved their heads. But yeah, they all did that. So they were like, we're with you, and they helped me shave mine. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm rocking this. I tried to get into wigs. They were so itchy. And I just wore hats all the time.
And when did your hair start to grow back?
My hair started to grow back like after, like really quickly, like a month later.
Oh.
I mean, I'm done.
Do you believe that your ability to grow your hair back so quickly was unique to you, or do you think that that's pretty standard after chemo?
You know, it depends on the person. For me, I took a different appreciation to my hair after that. Like I used to dye my hair and like, do crazy things, but now I'm like, let me take care of her. You know, I don't take her for granted.
Okay. What changed in your life? I know now you don't take your hair for granted, but was there anything else that changed after surviving cancer? Like, did you start doing anything differently? Did your outlook on life change? Like, different for you?
Oof. Well, to be honest with you, that's 10 years of change. So like my outlook on life developed really early. if that makes sense. And I didn't realize until lately that a lot of people don't go through what I did. Thankfully, I was surrounded with a lot of support and friends at the hospital going through the same thing. So I didn't get it until completely leaving that environment, like growing up 10 years later and not being surrounded by it and being confused how people could be so careless or insensitive to the topic. And that's why I try to educate people as much as possible about living their life in the most healthiest way, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unfamiliar. Because for a lot of people, it's unfamiliar, especially like around my area. Like the closest food joint is fried chicken.
Right.
Like that's what we have on every corner, or like, McDonald's. And to me, I feel like I have to make an impact somehow. I don't know how, but it started with personal training, like just being here in an opportunity where I can learn more about those things and learn how to teach people in a safe way, because they're not trying to hear it.
So you were talking about the food options that are, area, but I also know that you happen to be a vegan.
Yeah.
So when did you decide veganism is where you're going? Like, what tipped the scale for you?
Ooh. I mean, I knew about PETA and like PETA campaigns since the internet was born.
Mm.
PETA.
Yeah.
And they would post the videos of animal mistreatment and animal abuse and the food industry being terrible to animals. So I was already kind of familiar with that. Me and my cousin would watch the videos, and she turned vegetarian like right away. She was like, turn vegetarian with me. And we were like 9. And I'm like, Mamacita, I live in New York.
Right.
She lives in North Carolina. So I don't know if the food's a little bit more not accessible. Like here, fast food's really accessible. So it's harder to be healthier, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, there's a hot dog stand like right outside. I can't do it. So later, like after my treatment, is when, after my diagnosis, my family started learning more about juicing. They were like hearing about, oh, this fruit cures cancer, soursop, guanabana. And then my aunt would send fruits from Puerto Rico, and she would we would like juices for that, and they would make me down those, and I hated it. I was like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, give me a cheeseburger.
Right.
But slowly started getting used to it. I just kept having to think, okay, is this going to cure me? This is going to cure me. So I had to keep repeating it until I felt the benefits. And then I started feeling the benefits. Like, okay, I just accept it. They'd be like, here, apple juice, apple with carrot, or orange carrot, banana. Like, they would mix everything. It didn't even make sense sometimes. Some of the juices came out brown and weird colors. Did not look good. Right. I like a good, if you look at orange juice, it's fun, good morning. Right. Or if you look at pina colada, we'll put a little pineapple. But I don't want to say beets and radish juice. What is that? Yeah. I was like, I don't want that. So with that being said, that's where my name came from, Gabajuice. Because then I started doing it myself when I moved on my own. I was like, okay, let me make these a little better, and let me make these taste better and look better and just make it fun. So I started doing that.
So let me try to make sure I can follow your timeline. So you and your cousin were around when the internet started, dating yourself. And so when you guys discover these PETA campaigns, your cousin's like, today is the day, I'm done. And she made a decision at 9 years old that you weren't quite ready to make it.
Yeah.
Then you get diagnosed
Mm-hmm.
and your family jumps into action and they're like, okay, we're going to do everything we can to combat this. So yes, you'll have to go through the surgeries and the things, but we're going to do what we can on our end. And that started with juicing.
Correct.
Okay. So now we're making nasty, anything we can grab that sounds healthy. We're throwing it in a juicer
Literally.
and we're drinking it. And then you go through surgery, you go through chemotherapy, and then you go on this journey of creating juices that taste better or look better or still have the same nutritional value, but maybe there's a little more method to the madness, if you will, with how you put it together. So when did veganism come into play for you personally?
Okay. I love that. I love the summary. You're so good.
Yeah,
Such a good
thanks.
listener. All right. So I only turned vegan a year ago, but I was vegetarian for 7 years before this. But some might fight me because when COVID happened, I paused and I ate chicken and that's it.
Okay. Yep.
But that's it.
That was it.
I will admit it. I don't care. I was living at home. It was a hard time. But during COVID was also a time my sister went vegan. So it was like parallel, like, wait, okay, we can do this. I see you. So she only did it for a week, but it was like something, during COVID we were just kind of doing anything and everything. So
right.
that also inspired me to think lifestyle a different way. Like, oh, I'm here giving up because I'm home, but she's here trying to break barriers just because she's home. Because she had to move back home too, and we all did.
Right.
So that's what happened. During COVID, I was cooking a lot for myself, the vegetarian meals, and just learning more about cooking.
Okay.
And living on my own, I also just always like to cook. I always like to put people on to the fake version. They would say it's a fake version, but it's really a vegan version of what they normally eat.
Okay.
And that's what made it fun, was like making food that looked like what's something you would eat or whoever, and it tasting good. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Did you rate your cooking skills on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm on 100, baby.
Okay, so you're like a master chef. You should have your own TV show. That's pretty much what you're telling me.
I always wanted to be like one of those food taster on the show, like the judge, because I would be good at that.
Okay. So when did you discover that you had this skill, or was it something you've always been working on?
I have a good palate. I'm not picky. I'm not a picky person.
No, not your ability to judge other people's cooking. I'm talking about your cooking itself. How did you build that skill set?
Okay, well, shout out to my pops because he used to be a cook. And he cooks. Like, man, he serves and I eat.
Okay.
So he, not just him, my grandma too, my mom dabbles, but so I'm Ecuadorian and I grew up with a lot of delicious flavors and really, I'm really inspired by my culture because of the attention to like natural resources, right? Like that's another thing. It's like when you go to other countries, they don't eat like the US, like they don't eat like that. They eat purely homemade food. Like that's another thing. I've seen them kill the chicken in front of me. Like they're right there. The food is farm to table.
Right.
But a lot of the food is natural. It's with like beans or like different type of vegetables that you don't normally think about. And I just learned from him how you put stuff together and how it's a craft in itself. And I feel comfortable doing meal preps because of that.
Okay. And how long do you think it took you to get as good as you are now?
Oh man, I mean, it's a lot of trial and error. You just have to stick to what works for a while, and then once you're comfortable, do the next thing. And it's gonna be a lot of repetition. For me, it took a couple of years to get comfortable with it.
What was your first vegan meal that you were able to prepare on your own?
Creation, like from scratch.
Yeah, from
I was
scratch.
I was always proud of this black bean burger I used to make. So you mash the black beans and then you can mix it with rice or oats and then turn it into like a patty. And
Okay.
then serve it with whatever I had, like avocado, tomato, whatever.
So you said you used to make it. You don't do it anymore?
I caved. I'm a lazy girl, so I do the Beyond Burgers.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. But
Got it.
I'll make other things from scratch. Don't worry. I'm
Gotcha.
experimenting, but that's the first thing.
That was the
Yeah.
first one.
Like I said, you gotta make the first thing, perfect it, and then I feel comfortable to like make more fancy things than that.
Okay.
Burger is not that fancy, but like I mentioned before, this is my favorite food. Like,
Yeah. All right. So now you established you juice, you're vegan. These two things work. It works to continue to keep you healthy. It works for your own personal beliefs and the way people should eat, and how eating affects your health. So what transitioned you into becoming a personal trainer? How did that happen?
oof, John, this is a lot of twists and turns.
It's a lot of twists and turns.
Okay, what inspired you to ask that question?
Because I hired you, and I think that the people should know, right? Like, sometimes people think personal trainers come from ex-athletes and people who just wanted to career shift, or people who just look good naturally and they think they can tell other people how to look good, or people who just wanted to dabble. And it seems like your why is a little bit stronger maybe than the average person's. So I just wanted you to share like what journey looked like, so if other people were interested in becoming a trainer, they maybe can follow the path you took. That doesn't mean getting hired by me, by the way, in case people were wondering. Go ahead.
Only real ones do.
That's right. Only the real ones.
That's a nice preface, though. Okay, I transitioned into becoming a personal trainer because I was lost during COVID. Actually, like I lost my job,
What were you
and
doing?
so I came from a events photographer role,
Mm.
and I was working for events. So when the events stopped happening, they laid us all off, and it was a cool job too. Shout out to that job.
Mhm.
But I wanted to stick to it. I was doing the freelancing, but it didn't feel like fulfilling. That's the word I want to say. And I became a teacher. That was fulfilling for a while, and then hit another dead end. And then I talked to a career coach, which really helped me. And they were like, list 3 things that you're good at or that you're passionate about, and make that your career. I'm like, okay, let's do that. And at the time, it didn't seem realistic. I put like jump rope, camera, and like something else, beauty, some shit.
Okay. I don't know if that's if that's helping or hurting us right now, but go ahead.
But look, I made that into a career. Because
So
right
how
now,
do you feel jump rope, uh, beauty, and what was the
camera,
and
like,
camera? How do you feel like that propelled you into personal training?
yeah, so I looked it up. I just looked up one day. I couldn't sleep. I was so stressed out, not having work. And for me, it was like God sent that I woke up at 3 a.m. just to look up work, and the first thing I saw, open house, personal training at blah.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, perfect. Like, let me sign up. And then they called me right away, and I was like, hold on, this is too easy. And it was for the first time I felt like an interview was too easy, which is funny because I was always nervous for interviews. As much as I've been like prepared for them, I'm always nervous. But for this, it felt like effortless. It felt like, no, this is my calling. Like, I have to do this. If I don't do this, who is Gabajuice? So that's where I combine the three, because Gabajuice really is a person who I created, my alter ego, who values fitness, beauty, just appreciating self, and using my camera to share that with the world.
I like that. Okay, I like how you tie that all together.
Period.
Yeah. So okay, so now you get a call back. I end up interviewing you. You get hired for the job. What has been the best part about being a personal trainer so far?
First of all, why did you hire me?
You want me to say that into this microphone right now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we weren't getting enough candidates, and I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
The truth comes out.
No, seriously. No. So, honestly speaking, I think the personality that I was getting in the interview is the same personality that made me think this was a good idea for you to be on the podcast, right? I think it's super authentic. I think that you have this ability to bring a level of joy into a room with you that maybe didn't exist before you got there. I think that you have this distinct ability to relate to people on a level that goes beyond surface, right? And I think that your own journey, even though I didn't know all of it at the time, puts you in a position to empathize and work with people in a way that I wouldn't be able to, or somebody else wouldn't be able to. And so with all that being said, and there being a lack of candidates, here you are. Here you are.
That's a lie.
Here you are, you know.
Anyways, you're lucky to have me. No,
I am. No, it's true. It's true.
So, actually, shout out to you. Because despite all the difficulties I went through, all the things I had to face as a personal trainer, you directed me you put me in the right direction. And you got me to a point where I am comfortable telling my story, because I did not do that before working under you, pretty much. And that's what coaching is about, is like just owning your truth, just owning what you got going on. And for me, telling my story about my medical history was like, why would I tell anybody that? But since being open about it, it's like it's taught me to be vulnerable, and it teaches other people how to be vulnerable too, which is the point of personal training. Like, you have to be willing to share really embarrassing things with each other.
Okay. Yeah. No, that is true to some degree, right? I think that when you are capable of sharing a piece of yourself, it naturally invites people to be more comfortable sharing things about themselves as well. I think that we hit a little bit of a wall at one point, and I was just trying to figure out how can we continue to help you move forward. And I remember us having this conversation, and it was hard for you. It seemed very difficult for you to say the words and express what actually happened
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful that you trusted me enough to do so. But I think, like you said, that day probably opened up the door for you to be able to be more comfortable saying it. And I think I shared that with you, right? Like, hey, this is a part of your story, and it's not something you should be embarrassed about. It's not something that you should hide from people. It's actually something that might connect you more to them if you're comfortable, talking about it. And it seems like you've gotten comfortable talking about it. It seems like things have picked up for you. So I'm really glad that that's where we ended up. So kudos to you for being brave enough to do that.
Yeah.
So the best part about training for you is just, I know we kind of got lost in that, is what?
The best part about training?
Yeah.
That's the question?
Yeah.
Training who? Just anybody? Or just
Your
like me?
clients. No. The best part about you being a trainer. What's the best part so far?
That's a hard question because I could go forever.
Don't.
Don't.
Don't go forever. Give me like just one thing that comes to mind immediately.
I think the most fulfilling part about being a trainer is seeing people glow up, if that's the most basic way I could put it. Just seeing people become their most authentic self and not try to hide or not try to belittle themselves the way that I know is easier to do than to put in the work and to show up and to say hi to me. And even just that, the little things, like even just seeing them say hi, like, oh, you're happy to see me? I'm happy to see you too, right? Like it's the little moments like that, like, okay, now let's get to work together. Like you don't have to be in this by yourself. Like Coach Gabby got you.
I like that. Okay, I like that a lot. And what about the worst? What's been the worst part of being a trainer? And don't lie, because I know you in real life.
I'm not gonna lie. It's a grind. Like you're in it to win it. So the hours are not conventional, right? So like people who work 9 to 5, you need to be willing to work 5 to 9. So 5 in the morning to 9 in the morning, or 5 at night to 9 at night. And that's difficult. Yeah. Not everybody can do that. So I'm proud to say that I'm doing it. Whether I like it or not, I'm doing it.
Yeah. And I can see the growth from day one to now. So you definitely are doing it. Yeah, it's a grind. You're 100% right. It is not for everybody, but helping people is hard. And the hours that it takes to do so isn't always conventional, like you said. So
you gotta be willing to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be willing to cook, clean, and put away the dishes.
Not literally, but figuratively is what she's referring to. Yeah, just in case anybody doesn't know her. You had to take any part of your journey and do it over again. I know that might sound like a weird question based on the different parts of your journey. Mm-hmm. Is there something that you would do all over again? And when I say all over again, I mean either relive it exactly as is or do it differently.
Like any part of my career journey or life journey?
Career journey, life journey, either one or both.
I think realistically speaking, I wouldn't take away anything. That's the answer I want to give you. But if we were to say I could live without something, I guess just moving around so much. I was like physically moving because I was running away from what really I should have been doing the whole time, if that makes sense. So just staying in one place, staying focused, and staying, like, trusting the process, like trusting the timing of things, and not having to like flee the scene when things get hard. Is like what I would take back.
Okay. And that's more career-wise.
Overall.
Okay. So I think that might be really surprising to hear from listeners, because I think most people would assume that you would say, oh, I would take back having cancer. But you're like, that's not what you named. Could you share why?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's what makes me me. It's what I had to go through. Everyone goes through difficulties that even I can't relate to, right? Like at a young age or at an older age, like everyone goes through their things that they're grieving with or that they're living with. So my thing is my thing is knowing that being in a hospital is not fun, and just trying to stay away from it and teaching people how to stay away from it as much as possible is what I'm meant to be here for.
I like that. All right. How I like to typically end these interviews is with
a
some
song.
No, definitely not with a song. Is with advice, for those who may be listening and are experiencing what you're experiencing or want to be where you're at. So we'll do it in two sections. So the first section would be for anybody who is currently going through cancer, right? And they're experiencing the diagnosis, they're experiencing the the emotional drain that it takes and the physical drain that it takes. What is 3 things that you'd like to tell them to help them get through that?
Yeah. Okay. 3 things. All right. So the first thing that's coming to me is to just trust the process and to just keep looking forward and just live life day by day. Like, I know things are hard in the moment, but there are better days ahead, like better days that you can't even imagine right now. Like, that's number 1.
Okay.
So trust. 2, I want to say have fun, as much as that sounds like hard to do in that time. Have fun with literally everything. Like going to the bathroom, do a little dance, play a little game, like things that literally don't make sense but are fun to you. It's okay. Make it fun. And 3, don't be afraid to like plan out your future. Like literally write it out. If you're feeling like stuck, that's the perfect time to be super adventurous with your brain. Like your imagination is everything you have. So embrace it. Like
Thank you for that. That's the first one I think is great, and I think people can really connect to that. I think your second piece of advice, which is the way I'm hearing it, is like time to enjoy life, right? Like of enjoyment in the little moments of life that we sometimes take for granted. So I think that's a major piece of advice for anybody, but especially somebody who may feel like their time could be potentially shortened. I think that needed to be highlight it a little bit more because I wanted to make sure people got what you were saying there. If that is what you were saying, right? Okay, cool. Okay, and now if a person's like, I want to become a trainer, and I'm looking forward to, this career path and what it takes to help other people. I have a passion for helping people. What would be 3 pieces of advice you give them?
3 pieces of advice to an upcoming trainer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't normally do this, but you can hire me to coach you through that.
Okay.
And I'll teach you how to be
Gabby. Okay. Well, we're going to end this interview earlier because we didn't know it was going to be a self-promoting.
Come on. I got a selfless plug.
No, that's fine. No.
Okay. So 3 pieces of advice I would give to someone wanting to be a personal trainer. The first thing would be to read all the time. Read every single book about training, life, talking. You need people skills. So there's a lot of books on how to talk to people about health, right? And not just that, but just being well-rounded in anatomy, like what goes on inside people. So learning. Second thing, have a routine. Please have a routine for yourself. Like, don't neglect yourself, because like I mentioned, the hours are ridiculous. So put yourself first. If you have to wake up at 3 a.m, prepare the night before the things you need for yourself. So when you wake up and have to go, you already did what you need to do for yourself, right? Like little things, little touches make such a difference. Number 3 would be to slide into my DMs and I'll teach you how to be the best trainer. Listen. The third one would be to be yourself. Literally, that's it. Like, some days are not going to be easy, but you got to show up and be yourself.
Great. Gabby, thank you so much for joining us today and telling your story. I think that people will really be able to connect with your journey, and I think that your resilience and your never give up attitude can be motivating to some people who may be in the beginning of their journey and trying to get to the point where they have this victory story to tell. So I thank you for sharing. I know it wasn't always easy for you to do so. I'm glad you got into a point where you can comfortably do that now. And yeah, appreciate you. And we'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, John. It was really special sharing this moment with you, but also with anyone who's watching. Hopefully it's a story that someone can relate to. And, if you like it, subscribe. This is Between Sets. So comment, subscribe, like, whatever you got to do. Do it. Do it now. All right.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and you enjoyed today's show, leave a review and share with a friend. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can connect with me on Instagram and TikTok at Between Sets. Share your story or just say hello. Until next time, bye.